The turbine pedestal of U.S. Steel's newly completed Gary Works Energy facility measures 35 feet from the ground to the top of its poured concrete slab. The task: to lift two massive components of the 165 megawatt generating station, each weighing in excess of 125 tons, up and over the pedestal in a single lift. Then, to transfer the equipment down the length of the pedestal and onto their final locations. The challenge: to make the lift with only inches to spare at both ends of the larger of the two components. The contractor: Atlas Industrial Contractors of Columbus, Ohio. The plan, as envisioned by Atlas and refined by Ruby & Associates of Southfield, Michigan, was to construct elevated tracks extending outward from one end of the pedestal, and to employ a gantry system as a kind of rolling platform. To support the elevated tracks, Atlas made use of two of its four existing lift towers, each rated at 100 tons capacity. For the gantry system, Atlas used its 800-ton capacity hydraulic gantries. To tie the pairs of gantries together, Atlas employed W14 by 283 longitudinal members. On top of these, Atlas placed a double header beam configuration of W30 by 173 members. Finally, four PSC heavy lift L50 strand jacks were installed on special strand jack base plates atop two W12 by 40 beams anchored to the double header beams. Strands were then assembled and installed in the strand jacks, and polyester slings attached to the strands. With everything in readiness, the first of the two components to be lifted, a 135-ton high-pressure turbine, was transported into the lift area and oriented onto Atlas's centerline. The four polyester slings were attached in a basket hitch, and the lift was begun. With the turbine just clear of the transporter, the lift was halted to check the rigging, towers, gantries, and headers for proper alignment and operation before proceeding. The towers could not be more than 1/2 inch out of plumb at any point during the lift. The turbine's length, 23 feet 7 inches, was understood to be the critical dimension throughout the planning and engineering of the project. With only inches to spare as the turbine cleared the edge of the pedestal, there was even less clearance between the turbine and the inside wall of the building. Once the turbine was lifted clear of the pedestal elevation, Atlas locked the strand jacks so as not to be encumbered by hydraulic hoses as the next stage of the project began. Secure in its slings, the turbine, together with the gantries and header assembly, now began to inch forward. At a point during its travel, the rolling platform passed over a junction between Atlas's 20.5-inch gantry track and its 15.5-inch track. To match the smaller depth section track to the deeper one, Atlas employed cribbing of 5-inch hardwood blocks atop W12 by 50 beams, which both helped to distribute the load and permitted the spanning of a utility trench which ran the length of the platform. As the turbine neared its final location, the rolling gantry system used the last of the available track. Atlas Industrial Contractors was hired by ABB Power Generation Incorporated to perform the entire installation of the generating plant, and so would complete the electrical, mechanical, and hydraulic connections following installation of the equipment. The heavy lifting portion of the project was performed under a separate contract with ABB Transportation. Throughout the lift, all Atlas personnel were protected by all appropriate safety devices, including full body harnesses and lifelines. Once the HP turbine was in position, the entire lifting and transporting sequence was performed a second time, this time to position a 128-ton generator. 5 inches shorter and 14,000 pounds lighter than the turbine, the generator posed a lesser problem and so moved smoothly into position. A low-pressure turbine was also installed between the larger two components, but because it could be lifted in pieces and assembled in place, the lifting was accomplished using the building's 50-ton overhead station crane. The entire heavy lifting portion of the project, from setup to teardown, required less than 2 weeks. The actual lifting and transporting was accomplished in just 3 working days. A brand new electric generating system for northern Indiana is now online, thanks to the Atlas Touch.